Have you ever encountered someone who seems completely self-centered? They might be exhibiting narcissistic traits. Recognizing the signs of narcissism is crucial for protecting yourself from their manipulative tactics. The silent treatment is a form of emotional manipulation where a person refuses to communicate with another person. It can involve completely ignoring the other person, refusing to acknowledge their presence, and avoiding any form of communication. Narcissists use the silent treatment as a way to punish, control, and assert dominance over others. By withdrawing communication, they aim to make the other person feel small, insignificant, and desperate for their attention. This tactic is especially effective against empaths, who are naturally compassionate and sensitive to the needs of others. Narcissists often gravitate towards empaths because of their caring, compassionate, and forgiving nature. While this is a beautiful trait, it can make empaths vulnerable to narcissistic manipulation, particularly the silent treatment. The silent treatment becomes a way for the narcissist to regain a sense of power in the relationship. By withdrawing and refusing to engage, they force the empath into a state of anxiety and self-doubt. Empaths, wired to connect and heal, are left questioning themselves, desperately trying to understand what they did wrong. This self-blame feeds the narcissist's ego and reinforces their belief that they are superior and in control. Narcissists employ the silent treatment with calculated precision, wielding it as a weapon to inflict maximum emotional pain. They may start by giving short, clipped responses, slowly withdrawing from conversations, creating a palpable distance. Then comes the complete shutdown, the stony silence, the refusal to acknowledge even the presence of the empath. This calculated disregard sends a powerful message of rejection and devaluation, leaving the empath feeling invisible and insignificant. The silent treatment, while seemingly passive, is a deeply insidious form of emotional abuse that can have devastating consequences for the empath's well-being. The constant invalidation, rejection, and emotional neglect chip away at the empath's self-esteem, leaving them feeling unworthy of love and connection. This self-blame can spiral into feelings of anxiety, depression, and even physical symptoms like insomnia, digestive issues, and chronic pain. It is crucial for empaths to understand that the silent treatment is not their fault and that they deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. Emotional abuse is an insidious form of mistreatment that targets a person's emotional well-being. Unlike physical abuse, which leaves visible scars, emotional abuse operates in the shadows, chipping away at a person's self-worth, confidence, and sense of self over time. Emotional abuse can manifest in various ways, including constant criticism, humiliation, gaslighting, isolation, and of course, the silent treatment. Recognizing emotional abuse is the first step towards breaking free from its grip. The silent treatment, often disguised as a simple disagreement or a period of cooling off, is anything but harmless. It's a calculated strategy used by abusers, including narcissists, to assert power and control over their victims. By withdrawing communication, the abuser creates an environment of fear, uncertainty, and emotional distress, leaving the victim scrambling for answers and desperate to restore harmony. It's crucial to understand that the silent treatment is not a normal or healthy way to communicate in a relationship. The silent treatment often features prominently in the cycle of abuse, a repeating pattern of behaviors that abusers use to maintain control over their victims. This cycle typically begins with a period of tension building, where the abuser may become increasingly critical, demanding, or emotionally distant. As tension escalates, an incident occurs, which could be anything from a disagreement to a perceived slight against the abuser's ego. This incident triggers the abuser's need to regain control, leading them to employ the silent treatment as a form of punishment and manipulation. The silent treatment, while seemingly passive, can have profound and long-lasting effects on the victim's mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. The constant exposure to this form of emotional abuse can chip away at the victim's self-worth, leaving them feeling anxious, insecure, and unworthy of love and connection. Prolonged exposure to the silent treatment can also lead to feelings of isolation, depression, and even post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Seeking professional help is crucial for victims to heal from these wounds, rebuild their self-esteem, and develop healthy coping mechanisms to break free from the cycle of abuse. One of the most perplexing aspects of narcissism is the stark contrast between the narcissist's outward persona and their inner world. They often project an image of unwavering confidence, superiority, and self-assurance, leading many to believe that narcissists are supremely self-assured individuals. However, this grandiose facade often masks a deep-seated insecurity, a fragile ego that is easily threatened by criticism, disagreement, or any perceived challenge to their inflated sense of self. To compensate for this inner void, the narcissist constructs a false self, a persona characterized by grandiosity, entitlement, and a constant need for admiration. The narcissist's fragile ego is highly susceptible to any perceived threat or challenge. Criticism, even if constructive, can be interpreted as a personal attack, a direct assault on their carefully constructed sense of self. To maintain their sense of superiority and avoid these uncomfortable emotions, the narcissist seeks to control their environment, including the people in their lives. This need for control manifests in various ways, including manipulation, gaslighting, and, of course, the silent treatment. The narcissist's use of the silent treatment is not just about punishing the other person. It's also about protecting themselves. By withdrawing communication, the narcissist creates a safe distance from emotional intimacy, vulnerability, and the risk of further injury to their fragile ego. Engaging in open and honest communication requires a level of vulnerability that the narcissist is often ill-equipped to handle. Understanding this can be empowering, as it allows you to detach from their behavior and focus on your own well-being. Healthy communication forms the bedrock of any successful relationship. It requires empathy, active listening, and a willingness to understand and respect different perspectives. However, for narcissists, genuine communication, particularly when it involves vulnerability or the possibility of criticism, poses a significant challenge. Their communication style often revolves around self-promotion, manipulation, and control, creating a communication breakdown that leaves others feeling unheard, invalidated, and emotionally drained. Imagine trying to have a conversation with someone who only speaks in riddles, their words carefully chosen to deflect, distract, and maintain an illusion of control. This is the frustrating reality of communicating with a narcissist. Their communication style is often riddled with contradictions, half-truths, and subtle manipulations, making it nearly impossible to have a genuine, heartfelt exchange. Narcissists struggle to engage in active listening, a fundamental pillar of healthy communication. They are often too preoccupied with their own thoughts and feelings to truly hear and understand the perspectives of others. This lack of empathy creates a significant barrier to genuine connection, leaving the other person feeling unseen, unheard, and emotionally dismissed. Their communication often takes on a transactional quality, where conversations become opportunities for self-promotion, validation seeking, or subtle manipulation. They may dominate conversations, steering the narrative back to themselves, their accomplishments, or their perceived grievances. Section 2. Weaponizing silence, evasion, and control. For narcissists, silence is not simply an absence of words. It's a strategic tool, a weapon deployed to maintain control, evade accountability, and punish those who dare to challenge their fragile ego. The silent treatment allows them to sidestep uncomfortable conversations, avoid taking responsibility for their actions, and deflect blame onto the other person. Imagine a courtroom where the defendant, instead of presenting their case, chooses to remain silent, refusing to answer questions or engage in any meaningful dialogue. This is akin to the narcissist's use of the silent treatment, a tactic that allows them to control the narrative by refusing to participate in it. By withdrawing communication, the narcissist shifts the burden of responsibility onto the other person. The victim, left to decipher the reasons behind the silence, often engages in self-blame, questioning their own actions and desperately trying to find ways to appease the narcissist and restore harmony. This is precisely the outcome the narcissist desires. The silent treatment allows them to maintain a position of power and control while simultaneously avoiding any real introspection or accountability for their behavior. They can indulge in their anger, their hurt, or their need for control without ever having to articulate their feelings or engage in a constructive dialogue. Section 3. Beyond words, the language of empathy and its absence. True communication extends beyond words. It includes nonverbal cues, emotional intelligence, and empathy. This unspoken language builds trust and intimacy. For narcissists, empathy is a foreign dialect. Explaining empathy to them is like explaining color to the blind. They lack the capacity to understand others' emotions. Their charm often lacks genuine emotional depth. The narcissist's use of the silent treatment is not merely a childish tactic or a manipulative ploy. It's a symptom of a deeper disconnect, a fundamental inability to engage in healthy, emotionally balanced relationships. Their fragile ego, their need for control, and their lack of empathy create a perfect storm that makes genuine communication nearly impossible. Imagine trying to sail across an ocean in a boat with a gaping hole in the hull. No matter how hard you try to navigate, how desperately you try to stay afloat, the vessel is destined to sink. This is akin to attempting to build a relationship with a narcissist, where their emotional limitations create insurmountable barriers to intimacy and connection. Understanding the narcissist's communication patterns, their use of silence as a weapon, and their lack of empathy is crucial for protecting yourself from further emotional harm. It allows you to detach from their behavior, set healthy boundaries, and prioritize your own well-being. Remember, you cannot change a narcissist, but you can change how you choose to respond to them. The silent treatment, a potent weapon in the narcissist's arsenal, can be incredibly confusing and emotionally draining. It often begins subtly, a gradual withdrawal of communication, leaving you questioning your perceptions. Recognizing the signs is crucial for protecting your emotional well-being. Notice changes in their communication patterns. Are their responses short and clipped? Are they avoiding eye contact? These shifts can indicate the silent treatment. Have they disengaged from activities you once enjoyed together? Have they stopped initiating plans? Do they seem distant and preoccupied? Pay attention to their responses to your communication. Are your calls unanswered, texts left unread? This withholding of communication is designed to make you question your worth. Encountering the silent treatment from a narcissist can leave you feeling emotionally drained and confused. Remember, you are not powerless. You can control your response. Resist the urge to chase their attention or engage in self-blame. Focus on your well-being. Engage in activities that bring you joy. Establish clear boundaries and communicate them assertively. You deserve relationships where your voice is heard and your feelings are valued. The silent treatment, a manipulative tactic, can leave you feeling lost and emotionally drained. Remember, you are not defined by their silence. Recognize your worth, set boundaries, and prioritize your well-being. Their silence reflects their own limitations, not your value. Understand their need for control stems from deep insecurities. Detach from their behavior and focus on healing. Establish clear boundaries against manipulation. Surround yourself with supportive people. Embrace your voice and resilience. You deserve relationships where you are heard and respected. Break free by recognizing your worth and reclaiming your power.